Welcome to sunny side of San Diego.
It's the greatest city in the history of mankind. It's a fact.
Two local San Diegans that look at obstacles as an opportunity for growth.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying.
Michael Carini is the Acrylic Alchemist.
You can call me CEO
of Carini Arts. And Vicente, Vinnie, Enriquez.
No one could do it better.
The team lead of the Enriquez group.
Ride with us.
Hi, you sunny San Diego listeners. So taking in that first part of the intro, the greatest city in the world, or however it goes, you know what? I truly believe that. It's probably one of the greater cities. It has a little bit of everything here. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about today, how great San Diego is. We're talking about how are you challenge yourself during this time. Do you want to jump in first, Michael?
Put me on the spot there. Honestly, I love doing this, but this past year I felt so far out of routine that it's a challenge for me just to be up this early doing it. Now you get up so much earlier than I do, so all credit and kudos to you. That's one thing I need to challenge myself to do, is to be more like Vinnie, to get up a bit earlier. But yeah, every Wednesday it's a challenge for me to be up at this time. I'm like, well, do we get all dressed and have a nice appearance, or do we just roll out of bed in our bed clothes? And I'm like, you know what? We're going from home. We're getting up early. We're doing it. So I don't really care what people think about my appearance. We're just going to wear the bed clothes.
Well, this morning I was like, oh man, I could just sleep in. And I don't feel that, like, usually that doesn't come across, but I was like, you know what? If I sleep in and I need to get a workout in later today, I'm not going to have the ability because I have an appointment at 6. So I'm not going to be able to do a workout later this evening. So if I don't wake up right now and I don't get out of bed, I'm going to be a bum for the whole day. Then I heard something in the back of my head was like, well, I've worked out the last couple of days straight, so maybe this is a rest day. Maybe my body's asking for a rest day. I go, is my body really asking for a rest day, or is it me trying to find an excuse why I can sleep in this morning? And so finally, the one side of me was like, all right, you know what? I'm getting out of bed. I'm going to do a workout and just go through the motions, get the blood flowing, and feel good for the rest of the day.
That is the challenge, because the mind will always tell you, oh, you're doing enough. Take a rest day. Oh, everybody else that you know isn't working this hard. It's okay. You know, you're ahead of schedule. You're ahead of the game. But I agree with you. When I wake up later in the day, it feels like the day is so far behind me and you feel so unaccomplished. Whereas if you do get up early, you feel like you knock things out, and then you think, hey, well, technically I could take a nap if I want to. And sometimes, you know, I don't know, maybe you take a nap or you get other stuff done, but just being able to have the control over that is a nice feeling. Because I know that any day that I do sleep in or get a late start, it feels like you're playing catch up for the rest of the day.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it's really, during the week, it's very hard for me to sleep in. I mean, a sleep in is like a 6:30 or something like that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Where did my day go? You know, that's a sleeping for me. I mean, and then when I have those moments of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I allowing myself to sleep in? I go, I have to basically get up, or I have to do X, Y, and Z. If I don't do this, you know, the next person is going to do it, or I'm going to feel bad about myself. My future self is going to get mad at me. Like, trying to find whatever I can to get me there. To my routine. I mean, and then once I get into my routine, then it makes it a lot easier. But I mean, I think running your own business, the only person you have to basically of course you rely on your team members and that kind of stuff, but the only person you have to blame is yourself if you're not doing things. And so I always have to go, okay, well, this is a system that I put in place for myself. And if I don't basically wake up, do my routine, do my calls, do my follow-ups, do my appointments, in a week from now, in a month from now, who do I have to blame when that item doesn't come through, or that lead doesn't go through, or whatever it might be? So I think it's being accountable to yourself and challenge yourself, because you have to look at it from, you're the employee of your business, and what would your other side of you, I guess your owner of the business, rate you? I mean, how would they rate you on your work you're doing, on the life you're living, and things like that?
So a couple things there. One thing, you're sleeping in is what I consider getting up early. So that it is relative, and it is something that I was never as much of an early riser as you are, but I was an earlier riser.
Mm.
I have found that I have my threshold for productivity. And there was a period in my life where I had to get up significantly earlier for work. And my body, even after months and months, never acclimated. I could just never acclimate to that. My body and my mind just do not function on that schedule. So I did find the parameters under which I work best. But going to what you say about being self-employed, it is 100% true. It's about challenging yourself. It's about pushing yourself because you decide when your workday is done. And we're both self-employed. And so sometimes I'll have a decent day or a good day, or I'll look at the resources and I'll think, well, how much harder do we need to work today? And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the stopping point, but it's kind of like my baseline. But yeah, we essentially decide what our ceiling is, how far we're going to go, because if we want to go higher, we need to put in more work, more time. And perhaps that challenges us to eliminate other things from our life or to make sacrifices, things that other people want. It's a special and unique type of challenge when you work for yourself versus work for somebody else.
Yeah, going back to the idea of waking up early, I know we give a hard pin on this for people listening and us conversing, is, man, I remember when I would wake up at 3:30, right, and start my day right there, and now I'm waking up at like maybe 4:35 kind of thing. But man, it is one of the most empowering things when you wake up like really like early in the morning, like 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you get basically your workout done, you follow up with your emails, you do all that kind of stuff, and then 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rolls around, you start seeing other people, I mean, starting their day, and you know that basically you already put in basically the time, and now the rest of the day is basically yours to kind of extra time for you, extra time to deal with. I mean, I don't know, it really is very empowering.
It is. I found around 6:30 to be my threshold, though.
Yeah.
Even for extended periods of time, anything earlier than that, and I would always just feel lethargic and tired throughout the day, and nothing would change that feeling of being tired. So I wasn't getting maximum productivity. I found that 6:30 is around a good time for me, but it's so interesting because it is all relative. Because my girlfriend sometimes sleeps until like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and by the time she gets up and moving around, I'm like, hey, you know, the day's like already gone, right? All the things or half the things that we could have done, it's not possible now, right? But she's cool with it. You know, people move at different paces, so it's not a judgment on anybody else. But it's interesting, and I know that there's probably people that think the same thing of me. They're like, well, getting up at 7 or 7:30 or 8 o'clock, you feel like you're far behind. And I know before the pandemic, I was going to the gym significantly earlier, but now I hit the gym probably around 10 o'clock. I also kind of like to hit it around 10 o'clock because I feel like my body's a little more warmed up and I feel like the gym's not as busy.
Yeah.
But oftentimes I'm not finishing my workout until 12 o'clock, after 12 o'clock, sometimes closer to 1. So by the time I get home, take a shower after the gym, we're talking mid-afternoon there already.
Yeah, it's, I mean, to each their own. And I think the one thing for me is I can get swayed by shiny objects. Right. And when I get a phone call from someone or a text message from someone, it's like pains me not to respond to it.
Yeah.
And so I know that if I get my stuff taken care of in the morning, I'm probably not going to get a text message or call during that time window. So I can't blame anyone else if I don't basically get the things I need to get done that day. Now, the rest of the day, yeah, there's stuff I still have to do and things like that. Yet if I get veered a little bit by side projects, by side phone calls, things like that, I won't kick myself too bad later in the day. And so that's kind of like my reasoning of it. If I had a little more self-control of saying, okay, well, I'm doing these activities, someone calls me, I'm not going to be calling you back until, 5 o'clock at night or something like that, or whatever the time is, then I think maybe it'd be easier for me to wake up later and be around the rest of the day. But that's my hurdle that I kind of have to deal with.
I have the same challenge about feeling the need to respond to everything right away. And sometimes I think it does help, but sometimes I think it doesn't, because then I think sometimes I will get responses for responding right away. And you also set an expectation on the side of the other party where if they start to recognize that you respond right away all the time, if you don't respond right away, They may get a little frustrated or agitated maybe when other people don't respond that quick in their life, but they're used to and acclimated to that type of behavior from you. And so sometimes when I'm at the gym, I'll get text messages or emails and I'll feel the need to respond right away. But the other thing that that's doing is it's diminishing my workout because it's taking away my focus. And I'm trying to get to a point where the only thing that I'm doing at the gym, aside from working out, is maybe changing my music or something like that. But I'm trying to get away from shifting to my phone and messing up my rest breaks and things like that to try to be a little more focused and in the moment with whatever I'm doing. Same thing with my relationship. I'm trying to let things go a little bit and respond later because I know that sometimes she's having fun and it bugs her when I have to pull out my phone to deal with some of my work stuff that could potentially wait. Does it really have to get done right away? And again, this isn't a message of slacking. This is my challenge of letting go of control. So for some people, it's going to be a challenge to maybe start responding to things. And for other people, it's going to be a challenge to slow down the responses and let go a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I have a similar problem where I want to know what's going on. If I want to respond to people, feel that kind of stuff, especially when I'm in relationship time and things like that. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's having those boundaries. And again, the easiest way for me to do that is waking up before other people wake up and doing the things I need to do. So I don't have have to deal with the challenge.
The other cool thing about what you're talking about and getting up early is that you're generally not going to have the distraction of other people because not a lot of people get up that early. So it gives you a period of time to do things and get them done without distractions, without interruptions, unless you're here in San Diego dealing with people on the East Coast, in which case they're up 3 hours earlier. But if you're getting up at 3 o'clock, you're still beating some people not getting up at 6 o'clock over there on the East Coast. So. Oh,
for sure. Yeah, no, it's it's definitely empowering. Now, talking about other things to challenge ourselves. I mean, I think I think making the phone calls, I think that's always a thing. I mean, I like making phone calls. I do the cold calling for real estate. Challenge myself by coaching other people and working on who I am. I think being stagnant, having that ability to just be stagnant is something I fight against, and finding ways that how I can get better, how I can better use my time. Like for my business, it's really about, leveraging other people. So finding the better ways to leverage that's cost affordable, and leveraging my skill set. So if I'm doing an activity and let's say it takes me X amount of hours to get a quality lead, or let's say it takes an hour to get a quality lead, I have to find a way to better my skill set and be aware that it's okay for me not to be the greatest at it, even though I've been doing it for a while. And if there's ways that I can better perfect the words I use, so my time can be better saved for later on. I mean, it'd be just a lot easier, I think, without challenging myself of just saying, all right, you know what, it takes this time. I can just do it, be consistent, be happy with what I'm doing, and just do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have some of those issues myself. The other challenges for me, the big one is really letting go. And another one is, and my girlfriend will attest to this, when we're watching movies, any movie we watch, regardless of time, takes us about 4 to 5 hours to watch because I have to get up and feel productive every 5 minutes, which is probably the most unproductive thing I could do, because if we just sat through the movie and got it done, then it would be over and I could get back to work and do those other things. The other big challenge in getting a year older is having to pee every 5 minutes, which you have to work into your schedule, make sure you're always next to a bathroom. So the joys of getting older, I'm liking that. I know some days this past year, though, it was a challenge just to get up. So I want to say here, for anybody that is thinking about how we may be talking about some lofty things, that we're all in different places at different times, and it's okay to have that happen. And it's been the case for me this past year to have the ups and downs of the roller coaster. And there were days that it was a challenge to just get out of bed. And so sometimes for some people, the challenge is going to be just surviving long enough until you can get to a point where you can get up or make that change that you need to make in your life. And that's fine. That's a part of the growth. And then you'll have these periods where maybe you have a little more energy. And so then it's to challenge yourself to keep pushing and to keep growing, to keep building that stamina of sorts, literally or metaphorically. And so I know that right now, as I'm starting to feel a little bit better, my goal is to now challenge myself more with the physical to get back to where I was and then to hopefully grow from there. But yeah, it gets harder as you get older because you have new sets of challenges. Your body doesn't recover as fast. But I've reached that point where I'm able to hold that old man strength. So it's like you gain these certain qualities, but while you gain one thing, you shift the balances in other areas. So there's always going to be this sliding scale of balances.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's the challenge of, if sometimes for some people just getting up. I had someone on the other podcast on Road to Growth, and I mean, they were very athletic. They got into got hit by a car, I think it was, if I remember it correctly, and basically a paraplegic. And it was just like, okay, well, how do you fight to start using your hands again, your arms again, and things like that, and like it becomes even like you think about what you're going through and go, is it really as big as it needs to be? Am I making it bigger than it needs to be because this happened or that happened? Am I making it the center of the world? Right? And it's like, what's the worst case scenario of this situation right now? What's the best case scenario of this situation? What am I going to learn from it? Right? And it's changing the perspective on anything you do. I mean, if I get yelled at on a call, right, or I get yelled at by a person, I go, okay, well, what's the negative of it? All right, well, it's going to probably hit me because maybe my ego, right, getting yelled at. What's the positive of it? Okay, well, maybe there was something that I could have changed in the words I use, the systems I've done, whatever it might be, to make it better for the next phone call, next situation, next escrow, whatever it might be. Like, so I think it's all about perspective.
It's definitely about perspective because you think about your challenges, and then sometimes seeing somebody with bigger challenges makes you realize that yours are really kind of pretty small. And so sometimes that's the thing that helps you push beyond that. But I think most of us, if not all of, I think probably all of us have the challenge of the boundaries of the mind, where we put this cap on ourselves of what we can do or why we can only do that. Or we put this cap on ourselves because we see the people in our circle and how well they're doing. And we think, well, hey, I'm kind of right there in the middle of the pack where I fit in. I don't necessarily want to stand out or put in the extra work. And I guess this is throwing out the challenge to better yourself. We should want to surround ourselves with people that are better than us, people that push us to be better. And I have to think about that in my own life too, because that's an area where sometimes I do fall short. Sometimes I fall into the middle of things and I settle, and I'm trying to challenge myself to be better. And it's tough when you have people constantly telling you, like, it's okay, you did good enough, it's fine. Oh, it's okay to eat this. It's okay to not work out this day. It's okay to sleep in. It makes it really hard, especially when you fall into that comfort zone and you start to feel okay. And then when you start to feel okay with that being comfortable, it's really hard to get out. And I'm trying to avoid this state of feeling comfortable in life. And it sounds crazy because you're like, well, why would you want to be uncomfortable all the time? Because it's not. You want to find this peace, but sometimes I think you find the peace by challenging yourself to grow and seeing what your capabilities are, because you don't want to look back and think, hey, I could have done all these things, but I didn't do it because I settled for just being comfortable and falling into the middle.
Well, I mean, you know that saying, misery loves company? That's something that, oh my gosh, I can attest to. It's one of those things, like, if I have something bad going on, and I'll catch myself going, whatever. It might have been bad for me, but look at that person over there on blah, blah. You know what I mean? That's worse than what I'm doing, or that's worse than what I'm doing. So going into the idea that it's okay to be okay with basically something bad, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like it's good to have perspective, but it's also, when you use that as a crutch, I think that's where it becomes difficult. And that's something that it's like that balancing act of mindset when it comes to allowing yourself to be okay with being in the middle of the pack.
I'm guilty of that too. And especially as I get older, and as you get older, you start to feel comfortable with certain things or set in your ways. It's really true. And I was mentioning when I went to the chiropractor the last time, he was asking me how I was doing. And I said, well, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to feel like that old man yelling at kids to get off my lawn. because I'm just becoming so set. Like I want things this way and this way and this, and I just want to stay inside and not be bothered for the most part and do my thing. And I'm trying to learn to. I want to be harder in certain ways. Ha ha ha! As I'm getting older, not a Cialis joke, but I want to be softer and more understanding. I want to be more open to things because I'm realizing that I am so rigid in certain things, and there's areas that I want to be tougher, but there's areas that I want to be more understanding too. So it's tough for me because I'm so set in my ways and I'm so one direction.
Yeah.
But I want to find a certain degree of balance. And I know in my heart and my soul, I know what I'm capable of or what I'm potentially capable of. And I know that being a completely balanced person is probably not in the cards for me. But knowing that allows me to challenge myself to become the best version of me that I can be with the knowledge of who I am within my skill set and within my mentality. And I have definitely fallen short of that. And sometimes I do decent things or semi-good things, and people say, oh, well, you're doing great. Oh, you're wonderful. But they're looking at it from the perspective of social media or an outside view, or even the people that are close to me, a limited perspective because they're not seeing everything that goes on in my head or everything that I'm doing. And I'm seeing areas where I'm definitely falling short and could be much better. And truth is that many of us, most of us, 99.999% will never reach our full potential. But I would like to be somebody that does, and I feel like I have a lot of ground to make up. And so I do feel that challenge of making up for the lost time of making the mistakes. Yeah, there were lessons that could have been learned, and I'm hoping that I did. But I still feel this pressure, this weight on me that gets heavier and heavier, telling me that I need to work with whatever time I have because we don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, when you start looking at your mortality, you start thinking about, my gosh, if I only have X amount of time or this left in my life at my deathbed. I mean, ideally at your deathbed, going peacefully, but at your deathbed, are you going to be happy with what you did? Are you going to be happy with who you were? I mean, are you going to be happy with the moment you had yesterday, the moment you had today? Are you going to be happy with those moments? I mean, and that's I think the balancing act, because you want to challenge yourself to grow, but you also want to be happy in the moment. I mean, there's Warren Buffett said, he was talking about, I was listening to a podcast, maybe I brought it up on the past one, but he goes, the idea of saving your money, right, till old age is like saving sex for an old age. It's probably not the smartest way of going about it. And I thought it was kind of funny that Warren Buffett said that, but it's true. You have to have that balancing act of like pushing yourself, but also enjoying every day that you have. And that, I think that balancing act, it's hard for someone to say that they have the right balance. I mean, we probably lean on it one day. We might feel like we have the right balance. The next day going, man, you know what? I maybe enjoyed the moment a little too much, a little too long, and I didn't plan for tomorrow. And then the next day you go, okay, I worked too hard. I didn't really enjoy the moment. I forgot about it. So it's really kind of resetting it almost every day. I mean, every week, every month, and seeing, okay, am I living the best life I can live?
Well, and you will never again have more time than you have today. So whereas most people are feeling this desire to slow down, I feel this fight in me to speed up. So there's certain things that I want to slow down and appreciate, but there's certain things I want to speed up because I realize that, hey, you're not going to have more time than you do right now.
Yeah.
The clock goes in one direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. I mean, what challenges are you going through? What challenges are you putting upon yourself? How are you using those challenges to grow? I mean, we'd love to hear your feedback and appreciate everyone that's been commenting on our YouTube platform. And that's probably the best way, unless you reach out to us through Instagram, which we have in the show notes. But comment on the YouTube, reach out to us, and we'd love to hear your journey. I know we had some comments on our last podcast, which I responded to, but maybe in the future we'll start bringing up the old comments on here to converse and actually dive deeper in there. But thank you guys again for listening to the Sunny Side of San Diego. My co-host over here, Carini. My name is Vinnie, and please subscribe, please share, and tell your friends.
It's hump day. Go challenge yourself to do something difficult.
There we go. Hump day.